Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here on the Nerd Party Network. Every 2 weeks we look at 2 films from the A24 filmography, and in between we try and bring you interviews with the talent involved. In this week's episode, I'm joined by actress Rebecka Johnston to discuss her role as Ulrika in Ari Aster's Midsommar. Rebecka talks with me about the audition process, working on this incredible Swedish village set, her key role in a scene described by Variety as Midsommar's wild sex scene that is the craziest thing you'll see this summer, shooting the unforgettable maypole dance scene, working with Ari Aster, Jack Rayner, Florence Pugh, and we talk about much, much more. Thanks Rebecka for joining me and enjoy the show. What sort of started you on your journey to a role in sort of the creative industry? You're an actor, you're an opera singer, you're a real jack of all trades.
Well, I'm Swedish and I'm living in Budapest, in Hungary, and I got here because of the singing, because I wanted to study here. I'm from a small town in Sweden, and I had a singing teacher there who got me into the classical singing. And she only had contacts in Budapest. Her husband is Hungarian. So the natural thing would have been for me to sort of continue studies in Stockholm. But instead, I went to Budapest. And I sort of got stuck here. I started at the conservatoire, went to the music academy, and I got stuck here and started to act a little bit a long time ago. Started with a commercial, then did a few films, like just really small parts. Really enjoyed it, but still the singing was my big thing. And then 2 years ago, oh God, did we do Midsommar? When was it out again? It must have been 2 years ago. I was in a Swedish series, and the same casting agency said, we've got this other Swedish-American thing coming. Would you be interested? And I said, yes, of course. And that was Midsommar. And I did a few auditions and was very lucky. Ari liked me, and so I was. It was me and another guy, a Swedish guy who were casted from Hungary, but the rest of the Swedes were casted from Sweden. So we were very, very lucky to get the opportunity here in Hungary, because very often they're looking for very small parts here or extras and so on. So we were just very, very lucky, and that's how I got into Midsommar, really. And I've been doing a little bit of acting here and there, and now I think doing more acting than singing at the moment. So we'll see.
We all kind of know about the Hollywood industry, the British film industry. What's kind of like in Hungary? What's sort of the industry like there? It's becoming kind of a bit more sort of prevalent in films. I mean, we're recording this just now, and in a few months' time you have the new Marvel Black Widow film, which is going to be set there in Budapest. You've also things like Gemini Man's recently come out there. There seems to be more and more sort of Hollywood using kind of Budapest, similar to what they're kind of maybe doing in Scotland a bit. What's the kind of industry like there? Is it sort of reliant on Hollywood, or is it kind of starting to build up its own sort of studios and projects?
Yeah, but it's just amazing. So a few years ago, I didn't know about this, and then when you start getting into it and you start looking into it, and you see how attractive it is for someone living in Hungary, speaking English, and of course you have to do either British or American accent. That's usually what they're looking for, or Swedish. And being able to audition for films like Midsommar or like these big series that are coming here as well, it's just absolutely incredible. The opportunities at the moment are incredible, and you've got a crew that's getting more and more experienced in these really big Hollywood films. So it's just getting better and better. And Budapest can be modern Budapest or Paris or anything. It's just a chameleon of all these cities and places. And I think not only, of course, you can get it's cheaper in Eastern Europe, but also you get just this amazing crew. You get access to roads and buildings that usually, I think, well, in Scandinavia, I'm just guessing that it would be more of a problem to get access to to close off one of the big roads in the city centre. But here you can do that for a day or two or a week if you need to. So they just get the possibilities here are just endless. And yeah, again, with more and more films coming here, you get a better crew, and they're all prepared for these big Hollywood films. There's nothing they can't do here, so it's just amazing.
When did you sort of first hear about Midsommar? How was it did it land on your doorstep of, oh, this is something we'd like you to go along for? How did they sort of pitch it to you for the audition process, and what made them think, hey, this could be this could be a role that might get you some interest?
Yeah, well, I am Swedish, so that was a big bonus for me and for them. But Hereditary was just coming out when they started the casting process for Midsommar. So I didn't really know anything about Ari Aster, and they were very secret about who was the director and what was the film about. So there was not a lot of information to start with. And the whole process is, well, first you do just a presentation of yourself, and then you have to go through lots of these auditions, and the very last step you actually get a piece of the script, but not the entire one. So you just get, just do these 2 pages or something like that. And and then after I got the role, I started getting more information, let's say, and looking into this, I realized that this is really big. And it wasn't just a couple of days of shooting for me or something like that. It was actually 2 months, which is just the biggest thing I had ever done. And yeah, it was very intense, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Absolutely no idea. Knew very little about Ari. Of course, read up about him and Hereditary and all that. And I'm terrified of horror films, I have to admit. So yeah, the genre was also quite new to me. So it was just, everything was very new, and I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen.
When you watched Hereditary, what did you think about, like, this film is like, it's A24's biggest, kind of box office hit. It's a film that seems to have really kind of really exploded. What was it like thinking, I'm going to be in that guy's next film that's already got an audience built in, that's excited to see whatever this mad genius does next?
Well, it's terrifying in a way. As the film is terrifying, you're wondering what's going to happen. What will it be like to be on a set where in a proper horror film, and that just messes with your mind like that. So you're wondering what it's going to be like, or am I going to be terrified the entire time, or you're just wondering. And then reading the script of Midsommar, I didn't. It was very, very scary in the way that the film is, but I didn't quite understand how it would be as scary as Hereditary, for example. And being on set, I guess we will, get to that later on, but it was just so lovely. It was all so lovely. And I think I had no clue that it was going to be just as terrifying as Hereditary until I actually saw the film.
So what was you kind of touched on it a bit earlier, the audition process. Was it always the role of Ulrika that you were up for, or was it just sort of, we want to kind of get you in, sort of we'll feel you out and maybe kind of assign you a role?
Yeah, I auditioned for two roles. I'm not going to tell you which one the other one was that I didn't get, but I auditioned for Ulrika as well. But I don't think it was completely finalized at that point. The script wasn't completely finalized, so yeah, I think I actually don't know that much about the whole process that went on behind the scenes then, because they wouldn't tell me. But I think possibly I just they might have wanted to get me in or seen if I should be in the film. So they gave me these two roles to audition for, and then just luckily I fit for one, so that was good. But yeah, I'm not sure they were sure about me to start with, but I'm really, really glad that they made the choice. And yeah.
When you're kind of getting prepared to shoot something like Midsummer, what's your kind of preparation between getting the phone call that you've got the role to you're heading towards your first day on set?
Yeah, it's tricky because like I said, it was reading the script. I loved it, and I totally understood understood what was happening. But again, I didn't. Ari has this vision of when he does things. He understands what they're going to look like to the audience. That when you just read it, you don't know. He sees the whole picture immediately. So he sees so much more in the script than anyone else does when they read it, which is just amazing. That's sort of his genius. And so I read it. It was a bit hard. I mean, I prepared in a way that we all prepared. Like Hårga, we did lots of exercises together. We had workshops where we had to do movements together with the choreographer, and we did like mirroring each other, like the Hårgas are doing. So when someone's crying, the rest of us are crying. And we had to do lots and lots of exercises like that. We had to do, and it was suggested to do some sort of meditation at home. And so there were lots of preparations that we were given, like, this is what you have to do. And personally, you have to do, of course, your own work. But this is a village. This is a small town in Sweden. I am from a small town in Sweden. Don't get me wrong. It's not like Hårga, but it's still. I'm Swedish. I still have a lot of these things. I've celebrated Midsummer a million times. So you know about these things. So it's more like trying to. I've lived abroad for a long time, so trying to bring back all the Swedishness in me. I think that was a big thing I tried to do. But then also all these preparations we did together, and that's really Hårga. There was so much information on about the village, about Hårga, that we were given and told how they work. So we had to become Hårga. So it's not just we didn't just start the first day meeting each other there on set. We had met beforehand and done lots and lots of exercises together.
You've really read up on what this world that Ari Aster is wanting to create. What's it like when you turn up for your first day on set, that you start getting your costume fitting, you see this amazing set and design? I would love to see like an art book about all these different buildings and the designs that kind of went into it. What was it like to see it all kind of brought to life and reality after all this reading, all this preparation? You're now in your outfit, you're in that world.
It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. The buildings they had made were just sensational, and yeah, the especially the main house, the bigger house where they were sleeping, Danny and all the guys were sleeping, was just, I don't know, it's difficult to even explain it. It was just it was just incredible, really incredible. From the pictures on the walls to all the details of the beds and our costumes as well. We all had, even down to the shoes. You had your own shoes with your own runes on it. It was just such detail into everything. It was just remarkable to be part of that.
When you kind of get to set and you've kind of crossed paths with Ari Aster sort of during the pre-production, what's it like watching him as a director kind of working, especially with, you think of something like Hereditary, very small cast, very intimate. This, you have loads of extras, you have a huge group of characters. What was he like to watch kind of directing this, huge project?
First of all, he's so lovely. He's so nice, and he takes his time talking to everyone. Really, he's so polite. He's just a really lovely person, and that makes everyone feel relaxed, and it just brings such a good mood to the set. And all the crew members as well were just fantastic. So it was. And since we had all met beforehand, and we all started to get to know each other, it was just such a lovely, lovely, lovely atmosphere. And to see him work, of course, he was very focused. He knows exactly what he wants. I'm sure he was really stressed, and I have no idea what was going on in his head. But whenever he talked to someone, whenever he gave someone instructions, he was always very, very polite, very kind, very clear with instructions, but always also asking and trying to get that person. So when he gave me instructions, let's talk from my point of view, when he told me to do something, he also listened to what I thought the character would have done, and very often started to ask, so what do you think? And then continuing and then leading me into the vision he had. But that's why it was very, very easy to take instructions, very easy to work with him, because he let everyone put a lot of themselves and what they thought about their character into the character and into the scene. But still, of course, he knew exactly what he wanted out of the scene. But then it made it so much more real, and it made it just, I think, better when everyone gets to put their touch on it.
And I suppose when you get that thing of, like you talked about there, it's not just a few days you're on set for, you're there for 2 months. You have this big pre-production where you're really getting into the vibe of the village. It must give you a great chance to really connect with your character, develop it, see a history. That must be such a rewarding opportunity as an actor.
It was fantastic. And also, not to forget that the two Swedish guys who actually came up with the idea of Hårga, and who they have written this amazing sort of background about Hårga. They were there on set, and one of them is a producer, and the other one was actually with us. And you can see him sometimes in Hårga. He is there. The background is an extra, and so you could ask them everything, and the background of your own character. And days where we were just sitting there chatting away. What do you think? Where have I been? And the pilgrimage as well. We were just guessing where did I go? And and all the runes. They knew everything about that. So it's not just this film. It's just so much background to Hårga, and to have them on set and to sit there and just chit chat about how they came up with this idea and all of that. And then they brought this. They brought this, presented this. I don't have all the details. Maybe you know more than I do about this, but they presented it to Ari, who loved the idea about Hårga, and then he wrote the script. This is, and again, I'm really sorry if I'm getting any details wrong here, but they were there anyway, so you could chat to them and get all the background information and tell them about the background information. Of course, it didn't have everything, so you could tell them what you thought about your character, and they really, really loved that too. So it was really nice.
You touched on it as well, that you've celebrated Midsummer 90 times as opposed to not every 90 years. Were you able to bring any of your own little bits of advice or experience of going, well, actually, at the Midsummer kind of I've celebrated, there's maybe this or that. Did you get an opportunity to bring some of those real life experiences to the character in the set?
Well, they have, since they were two Swedes actually coming up with the idea of this, and Ari has really done his research. Like, there are no accidents to what we're doing. We, in Sweden today, we do not sacrifice people, and as far as I know, there are not that many people celebrating like Hårga does. But the Hårga dance is... So Hårga is a village, and I think it actually exists. And there is a song about, I think everyone dances, the devil is telling everyone to dance until everyone is dead apart from one. So it's a little bit like, in Midsommar when they're all dancing and then you have one May Queen at the end. And we do have a maypole in Sweden now when we celebrate, we dance around it. And usually everyone survives, and and it's all good. But also what else do we do? We eat lots of food at Midsummer. We eat herring. And all these little traditions. I think Ari has found them from like different fairy tales or just myths or things like this. So there are no accidents in how they are celebrating Midsummer in the film. And of course, I recognize some elements to how we do celebrate Midsummer today. But it's much not happier, not kinder, but it's just less death, I would say, today. More alcohol.
One of the, I suppose you're part of one of the most unforgettable and quite iconic scenes of the film, and really of 2019, where Christian arrives in this large barn to the sight of a dozen naked women and a willing and ready Maja to have sex with him. What was it like to shoot that scene, and what was the atmosphere like on set? When did it kind of, I imagine when you're sort of reading the script, that's one of the kind of standout scenes. What was it like to then be part of that?
First of all, it was every day of the shooting for 2 months was so incredibly hot. Like, it was so warm. And then this particular scene, was shot on the last day. And then the temperature dropped, like, I don't know, it was so cold. And of course, right when you're not wearing any clothes, that's when it gets so cold. We were shooting the scene for, I think it must have been 13 hours. We had done so much preparation beforehand. There was a lot with the singing, all the women singing. We had prepared that for a long time. There was a lot of preparation where the cameras would be. I know Ari went through, especially with Maya and Christian, went through exactly what would happen in that scene. So there was just, I think, more preparation for this scene than possibly the dance scene might have been. We prepared a lot for the dance scene as well. But apart from that, this scene was, because it involves, Ari didn't want to do 55 takes because everyone's naked. It's a bit uncomfortable. So the preparation, it was just a lot of preparation done so that we didn't have to do that many takes. And Ari works with like very, very long takes. So you have to know what you're doing and you have to do the same thing every time. And you don't want to be the one messing up the whole scene. So we have to do it again. And in the cold as well, it was just, I think it was everyone was a bit nervous to start with, because it is very, it's an unusual scene as it is. It's very bizarre. And then you are completely naked as well. And it's really, really cold. And there are a lot of people watching. People are going to watch it later on. But there's also a lot of people there in that little barn. And, lots of people have monitors as well. So it's not just the people you see in front of you. There are people outside as well looking. And also there are a lot of things. The timing has to be right. We had to first all sing. Isabel, Maya had to do her thing of, where to look, how to do this and that, where do my legs go. And it all has to be in the right rhythm, in the right timing. And then I approaching Maya as well, kneeling down. Everything has to be just with the right timings, like right when the camera is in the perfect spot, then you have to do this and that. So it's not an easy scene. It's a very, very complicated scene. And it doesn't help that you're not wearing any clothes. And it doesn't help that it's freezing. So it took a really, really long time to do. But the atmosphere of the people there and it was just wonderful. I mean, the women there who were there with me and all the crew members and Ari and everyone was so they were just fantastic. There's just fantastic crew. Everyone were polite. Everyone were in a good mood. And yeah, we knew we had to be nude, but we didn't know that for 2 months already. So it wasn't the biggest issue. The biggest issue was that we wanted not to do too many takes if we didn't have to. To get it right and to make it look very sort of natural and comfortable and very Hårga, that we're not ashamed of our bodies and we all look different. And the atmosphere was actually fantastic, but also it wasn't a sort of everyone were very it wasn't a serious atmosphere, but you didn't, like, no one dared to joke too much because you don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, because it is a very delicate situation. You don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, especially when they're naked. It's interesting that it makes everything so different, but it does.
It's a kind of surreal moment as you begin to serenade and almost become part of this sexual display up close. What was Ari wanting from you in that scene? And I kind of had a look at the script itself, and it brilliantly describes it as Maya looks back at one of the women, it's Ulrika. She smiles tenderly at her. This would be touching if it wasn't so weird. What was kind of Ari like, kind of directing you as you kind of become part of this very kind of sexual act? You become almost this third wheel in it.
Yeah, when I read it, I was just thinking, there's no way I'm doing this, and then I really didn't understand, like, why are all these women here? The feeling that you probably get when you watch it for the first time. That's what I got when I read it the first time, and then I realized I'm in it and I'm doing that. It was also sort of a discussion, and with Maya and Christian as well. How can we do this scene so it won't look? I mean, it's weird. It's weird, like Ari said in the script. But it's also beautiful, and I think we all discussed, like, how do we do this so it will sort of look natural, that I just sort of grab her hand. Well, obviously Maya is looking for as a mentor, something for her. She's looking for some comfort, and I'm there, and I give her that. And Christian is he's finding it a bit strange, as he would. And I think when I'm starting to sing to him as well, it involves entire Hårga. So it's not just the three of us anymore, then really it involves the whole village is there with him and with them. And I think the bizarre thing with this scene is that we all, like, it's just Christian who's finding this strange. The rest of us are like, just getting on with it. We know what's going to happen. We don't find this strange at all, and it makes it even more bizarre. And the singing is just brilliant. It's the timing of everything is hilarious. It's hilarious, but also it leaves you with this aftertaste that is so bitter, and because it's like you're wondering what happened. It's not right. And then still, I can't not laugh, and a lot of people can't stop laughing. But when we were shooting it, I didn't realize it was going to be that funny. And apologies to everyone who do not think it's funny. But I didn't and I think the way they cut it was very clever. And I think the whole film, Midsommar, is brilliant because now I think it's brilliant, but because it's got so many moments that you can barely breathe because it's just so overwhelming and horrible when Danny's screaming and all these things happening to her and to the others. And then you have this humor as well, and these points where you just burst out laughing and you really didn't expect it. And then especially in this scene, you really don't expect that, because a love scene is usually not that funny, and it's not bizarre, and it's not a sort of rape. And then you start laughing in the middle because what is this woman doing singing? And I think they could have cut it in a different way, where it would have been a really horrible scene, and also one of those scenes that you would not been able to breathe because what are they doing to him? But the way they cut it as well, and the timing of everything, I think it's just brilliant. So I was of course a bit worried if, like, what would it look like? What would the scene be like when you actually watch it on the screen, and how would they have cut it? Because you have no idea. You're shooting for so long, and then when I saw it, I'm just really, really proud of it, and I'm really, really happy that I'm in it.
You might be able to shed a bit of light on this, because I am not as cultured as you and not a master of languages. But can you tell us a little bit about the song and the song choice? For me, I listen to that and I find it quite a therapeutic song. It has that very kind of cult kind of vibe. Can you tell us a little bit more about the song and perhaps its meaning?
Well, they are not real words, so I'm not singing in Swedish. So what you hear is maybe it's a Hårga sort of just calming, lullaby or hymn or something like this. And so they had just these brilliant composers as well. And one woman, and I'm really sorry if I'm getting any of these names or if I've misunderstood anything. I'm just apologizing beforehand. But a woman called Jessica, and I'm pretty sure she did the melody of this one and of a few other songs that were sung. And she'd been inspired by Swedish folk songs and Nordic songs in general. And it sounds very Swedish. It sounds very Nordic. And also the song Maya is singing in the beginning. I think is right in the beginning when you see all the snow and all that, and there's a woman or a girl singing this just beautiful tone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's also composed by Jessica, and if it's not, I'm really sorry, but it's brilliant anyway, whoever composed it. So there are lots of these melodies that are, and there are other songs being sung as well, but none of them they're not in Swedish, and they are just random words or, they sound a bit Swedish, but they're not. And of course, we rehearsed a lot, making different sounds with our voices as well. As you mentioned, I'm a trained singer, but this was so different for me to sing and to make these little I don't know, just tricks with your voice that I haven't done before. And yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to explore that too. But everything is down to detail in this film, and they didn't leave anything out. So yeah, also the singing has been, we've had like some lessons with where Ari also listened to it and said, yeah, I'd like this, I don't like that, and so that it would fit his image of what he wanted from all the different scenes.
What were Jack Rayner and Isabel Grill like as scene partners for something like that? Did you sort of build up quite a bond together, kind of working on a scene like that together?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're just amazing, really are. And Jack has got so much experience in films and done not similar scenes, but at least scenes where he was, love scenes like that before. It was just so helpful, and he was really helping Isabel a lot, but also I was asking him a lot because I've never done anything like it. He was so helpful and such a sweet guy. It was brilliant, and Isabel as well. And yeah, it was the best. Everyone was so supportive.
When you make you shoot a scene like this, a film like this, and you're kind of in this bubble, it is almost you're in this own little village. Do you anticipate that when you're shooting a film like this, the end of a 13-hour day, that a scene that you've worked on, play a key role in, will end up being dissected in things like Variety, the New York Times, things describing it as sort of the weirdest, craziest sex scene of all time, all these sorts of things, and people really looking for the meaning, the song choices. Do you anticipate that, or does it come as a surprise when it happens?
Well, both yes and no. I didn't anticipate the whole film to be. Of course, I perhaps I should have, because of Ari and because of, like you said, that he had already fans from Hereditary. But of course, we knew this scene is bizarre. It's so special. And I remember, Jack said when I was talking to him and asking for advice about the scene and how to approach it, and he said, "Well, Rebecka, after you've done a scene like this, you don't have to worry about anything, because nothing will get weirder ever in your career than this scene. You won't do anything more difficult than this scene." So it's really, of course, we knew this is something people will be talking about, this scene, but you don't know if they're going to talk about it in a positive way, as I see it when you say this, like it's the bizarre. I think that's a positive review of it. So you don't know how people, of course, are gonna like it. But when people say it made an impact on them, that's very positive to me. That's what we wanted.
And you're involved in quite a lot of some iconic moments in this. And you touched on earlier the maypole dance scene. What was that like to shoot? I mean, it's a beautiful scene in so many levels. It really highlights the production design, the beautiful location, the talent, the music, the choreography. What was that like to be part of?
It was amazing, and again, we had to do a lot of preparation for it. We had to dance a lot. It's not the most complicated choreography in one way, which is good, because most of us are not dancers, but a lot of them were dancers, so they also had people who could actually dance that. But for the rest of us, the steps needed to be easy, but you need to act at the same time as you're dancing, and again, the timing with the camera and everything just has to work. So you have to know the dances really, really well. And we were practicing and rehearsing, and shooting that scene took, I can't really remember, I think it took almost a week. So it's just so much dancing, and the heat. I mean, it's so hot. It was so hot, and we were dancing for hours. But it was amazing, and to have this music, which is just fantastic to have them on like these big speakers, because we had to dance in rhythm, and just every time you heard these drums starting, it was incredible, and I almost get goosebumps thinking about it. It was just really incredible to be part of it, and that's something I think everyone realized throughout the whole shooting, that it was a magical film to be shooting, and it was very special because it was so down to detail, and the details were so special as well, that we had movements that we were doing, and sometimes starting the mornings with this special Hårga movement or greeting that we had. So it was really like you were living in Hårga, and you yeah, I'm really selling Hårga now, aren't I? But I probably would have moved there. Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
We're introduced to your kind of character a bit earlier in the film, sort of making bread and sort of inviting Florence Pugh's Danny over to help. What was Pugh like to work with? I mean, as of recording, she's an Academy Award nominated actress, and I'm really hoping she goes all the way. I thought she was absolutely incredible in Little Women. What was it like to sort of have your introduction to this into the film for the audience, and to sort of work with Pugh?
Well, you're absolutely right. She's absolutely incredible, and in Midsommar, she's just fantastic. And then as a person, she's also fantastic and so sweet and so talented. But a lot of humor and very, very down to earth. It was, yeah. I think we all became like this big family. Yeah, and Florence and Jack and all the others, they were just as involved in this as everyone else. We were all meeting up in the evening sometimes, going out, and we were chatting on set, and it was just very lovely. It was, I didn't think, now this is going to sound a bit, of course I thought about her as the big actress, but she was just one of Hårga, just like everyone else, which was absolutely lovely.
What was the kind of atmosphere like on set when, I suppose, when you have a village together, do you sort of, what's the kind of evenings like? Do you sort of go back to kind of, into Budapest or kind of other places, or do you continue to have that sort of community spirit that we can really see on the screen together?
Well, there were so many people involved. First of all, with also the Hungarians and the crew. I mean, on set, in front of the camera were sometimes, I think, 80, 90 people, which is a lot. So all the Swedes, we were very close, and we still meet up sometimes, and we're still very close. And there were evenings when we went out together, and we had dinners. But I mean, for me personally, the others came here and staying in a hotel and so on. So they were meeting up a little bit more. I live here. I have family as well. My son was just one, so I kind of had hands full. I had to wake up early for the shooting, and on my days off, I woke up early because of my son. So I don't think I slept at all for those 2 months, because there was always something, So I had to go home and look after him quite a lot, of course. But I could also meet up with the others from time to time. And we all just became a big family. It was really nice.
When did you sort of see the finished film, and what was it like finishing that 2-month shoot, and then that's it, away, it's off to post-production? Do you sit there worrying, thinking, am I going to be cut? Am I going to be, how is it all going to kind of come together? What was the process like waiting to see that finished film, and what was that first night like?
I'm very impatient as a person, so it was a long wait. And of course, you're always worried about being cut, or that you won't appear the way you thought, or they will have not just cut you out, but maybe cut the scene in a way that wasn't what you imagined. and also you're so worried about what people will think about the whole film, not just your performance, but of course the whole film. I was invited to, there was a Swedish premiere, and I was shooting something else and I couldn't go, and I was really, really sad about it. But then there was a Hungarian premiere as well. So I went with a lot of the crew, and it was for 2 nights. It was kind of a pre-screening of some sort. So I saw it 2 nights in a row. And I think I needed that because it's a lot to take in. But I was really, really happy. Of course, I'm biased looking at it. You see Hårga and you see, oh, it feels like home when you're watching it. Oh, look, that I remember what happened here and there. So you can't watch it with completely new eyes. But it was really, really nice to see how it turned out.
What's it like being part of such a huge film? That what I found quite incredible about Midsommar is it seems to have really inspired people, not just in terms of, we touched on it, people are discussing your work, this film, and going into real detail and depth about the art, the design, but also it seems to have inspired people creatively. There's so much art and design that people are creating, you know. It seems to have really impacted on people. What is it, as someone that's involved in it, do you think that's so special at Midsommar that it's kind of gone beyond a film people like? It's something that people are inspired by, feel created, want to feel inspired to be creative as well by. What do you think that special thing is about Midsommar?
It's so wonderful to see that people like it that much. I'm very honoured to have been part of something that has an impact on people like that. I can understand why, and I think as well with today's focus on mental health, it's a very modern film like that. And then you have all this beauty and the folklore and all that. It's just a very attractive film like that. And I think a lot of people feel so many different things. I can, like when my friends have watched it, some of them say, yeah, it was funny, it wasn't that scary. And then some others have just, not really been able to talk about it for a couple of weeks. Because depending on what you're going through at the moment, it affects people so differently. And I think that's very unique. With a film that has so many sort of angles to it and can touch people so deeply in different ways, is very special. It makes it very special. And again, this was nothing I anticipated or could have dreamed of when we were shooting it, or before when I just read the script. But I'm sure Ari could, though, because I think he knew what he was creating, and it's just an honor to have been part of something like this.
With the kind of the film as well, that what's it like when people reach out to you to kind of talk about this film? Is there an element that you want to kind of keep, I suppose there's so many elements of it which are quite secretive, open to interpretation. What's it like when people watch these films or friends reach out to you and want to discuss the kind of your scenes and characters? Do you like to keep an element of the mystery, or is it something that's quite exciting to break down and share your interpretation perhaps or something?
Well, there are a lot of things I don't know that people have found afterwards. I know little clues and little things here and there that I don't know about, so I'm as clueless as they are. And then there are, of course, things that, for example, things that we've been shooting that aren't in the film, and I am not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about them. So that's why I just rather don't. So I don't say too much. So I think what you see in the film, I can talk about all those things that you can see, and some of the things I know what happened. Why is it like this? Well, I can tell you it's because of this and this. But then, of course, if I hear people discussing it, I don't want to tell them what happened or why it was like that, because I think yeah, a nice part when you watch a film is wondering about things and discussing things. I think that's part of the beauty as well. I don't want to spoil that. So,
Has the film had much of an impact in kind of Hungary and Budapest? Is this something that they're really proud of to have been the location for this fantastic film that people are seeing all around the world?
um, yes, of course, of course. But also, like you mentioned earlier, there's so much being shot here, and I think they are proud of all of that. And they're proud of being a city where films like this are being shot in. Uh, so I think Midsummer, absolutely, but I think they are proud of big productions and Hollywood productions coming here. But again, in Midsummer, there were so many people involved as well. And with the crew, I've met the crew several times in other sets as well, and other films and shootings, because it's a small world as well. So I think with Midsummer, there were so many people involved. So I think it has a special place in a lot of people's hearts because they were in it. But yeah, I think they are very proud in general, which they should be, that Hungary and Budapest is a great city for shooting big films in. Great films.
What's been the impact on you? What's it like when you can put Midsummer for your vocal talents, for your acting, onto your CV, IMDb? Does it have much of an impact professionally as much as personally?
It was my first bigger role and the longest shooting I've done. So of course it had an impact on me personally. It was and like I said, my son was just over one, and it was the first thing I did after having a baby. It was this, and it's not like I was just not prepared for anything really. It was my first job, my first anything after the baby, and it was very intense but very nice, because when you have a kid, you are home with a baby, everything is lovely, but you also feel kind of, it's a bit lonely having a child. And even if you meet up with people, and you sort of lose a little bit of yourself and of what you used to do or what you're doing. And I'm sure this is different for everyone, but this is what happened to me. And I was still singing, I was still doing things, but I was just tired all the time, and not that much time to practice singing, not as much as I wanted. And then I got this, and I thought, how are we going to manage? And my husband and I sat down, and we just managed managed it, but it wasn't easy. And it was so worth it, and it was so wonderful to sort of get out and meet people again and challenge yourself. So for me personally, it was amazing and very important to me. And for my career, of course, it was a big thing, a big step. It does look good on your CV, and I feel much more comfortable as an actress after doing it. And yeah, just hoping there will be more roles like that, similar.
We pose this question to everyone we get on here. What are some of the highlights of the A24 filmography for you?
Well, again, I'm quite biased to Midsummer, obviously, but yeah. Let me see. Well, The Room is brilliant. But yeah, I think A24 is it's just brilliant in general, because they're very brave with films and very clever with the films, or the films are very clever. So but I mean, Midsummer is always going to be my favorite one, but for obvious reasons. So yeah, I'm a bit biased to that one.
They seem to have really enjoyed sort of Midsommar, not just as this film that they released, but in terms of like the marketing for it. It's had a great ad campaign. I don't know if you've seen the Bear in a Cage trailer they released as well, and like
It was
the
fantastic.
t-shirts. It's such a, they've really embraced Midsommar in quite a way. Have you picked up any of that kind of merchandise or anything from the Midsommar collection? Have you got a bear in a cage?
I so wish I had a bear in a cage. I really, really wish I did. I thought they were brilliant. And I really like that it's a horror film, but like all these things are just hilarious, and it's such a contrast to the film itself. Although it's not, but yeah, it's just brilliant. But I really wish I had a bear in a cage. I'm afraid I don't.
Have you managed to get the song out of your head yet, or have I just put it back in again?
Yeah, well, now all the whole Midsommar soundtrack is now just spinning in my head. To be honest with you,
it was the most catchy thing. Of like, I remembered me and my friend, we heard it. It was like, it's a bear in a cage, and it was like, oh my god, this song is stuck in my head. They have managed to find the most infectious little theme tune I've ever heard.
Yeah, it should have been in the film, really.
Exactly, they could have had like as a little end credit stinger or something like that.
Right. Or when they passed the bear, that could have been a sort of little tune in the background, perhaps.
There we go. Someone will make a YouTube video of that listens to this. That can be someone's job. And kind of finally, what can people look forward to from you next? And what's the kind of best kind of like maybe social media platforms to kind of follow any news from yourself?
To follow any news, I guess Instagram is the best, but I'm not like updating very frequently, but a little bit. So anyone who wants to is welcome to follow me there. Next, I've only done smaller parts, so there will be little things coming out. I don't know how much I can say at the moment, but I think in 2020, late 2020 or 2021, you'll see more. But let's just say I'll post it on Instagram, then I can promise to do that. So if anyone is interested, then you'll find it there.
That's a good tease for us there. So, but thank you so much for coming on to talk with me today. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic to go behind the scenes of Midsommar and learn more about your role and career.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.